My name is Alexis Franklin, and this is my PowerPoint presentation about the service learning project I did at Hospice and Community Care. This is for the capstone class. Introduction to Hospice and Community Care. It was started in the late 1970s when Reverend Donald C. Wilson wrote a piece for the paper called Terminal Candor. And he touched on the things like hope, fear, death, and life, and it was about his personal struggles. The first patient was cared for at Hospice of Lancaster County in March 11th of 1980, and presently they have 400 plus employees and 1,000 plus volunteers. Hospice and Community Care provides palliative, supportive, and hospice care in Lancaster, York, Adams, Berks, Chester, Cumberland, Dauphin, and Lebanon counties. I chose to volunteer here due to the collaboration I've had working as a nurse at LGH. I've always enjoyed the idea of hospice care, so I wanted to explore it a little bit more. The mission of hospice and community care is to provide personalized care and comfort to help patients and families live better with serious illness through end of life. Their vision is every person living in the community will receive the care and compassion they need while coping with serious illness, facing end of life, or experiencing the loss of a loved one. The core values that they list on the website are compassion, care, respect, and courtesy for patients and their families. They also focus on comfort, dignity, and safety of patients, their families, and caregivers. They focus on integrity, honesty, and ethical behavior for all parties involved. They also focus on teamwork, open communications, and mutual respect for each other. And they also really want to be a positive part of the community. Some issues for the hospice population, the social issues, have a lot to do with the attitude and beliefs around palliative care. Could be patients feeling this way or their family members feeling this way. Some of the political issues, these are some of the acts in place right now. Connect for Health Act of 2021, the Telehealth Modernization Act, and Rural Access to Hospice Act. Some of the economic issues for the hospice population include a lack of access for minority groups. The article I found written by Hyatt in 2019 says that social workers may not be equipped or have options for those minority groups, so it makes it even more difficult for them to get the care that they need. And some cultural issues. Each culture has a different view and a different way to care for their members at the end of life, so it's important to respect the different views and care. And it's important to understand the different ways of grieving between cultures. Some cultures grieve very loudly, others are very quiet and kind of withdrawn, so it's just important to know that for when helping with the families. Project design for my project. I got involved by completing an online application. There was a screening process and interviews, multiple interviews. I had to submit certain things such as vaccination records and things like that. There were online modules to complete for each volunteer so they have a better understanding of what's expected of them and ways to help around the facility. And then I scheduled my volunteer hours. They schedule them in 3-hour increments and don't like for anyone to do more than 6 hours a day. And the hours are from 6 a.m. until 9 p.m. While I was there, it was important to keep coffee fresh throughout the day for staff, family, anyone that would be interested in it. There was a flower donation to the facility, so I helped another volunteer make flower arrangements to place around the facility in more of like the lobby area nursing stations. I did some patient laundry, cooked meals for the patients, made sure that the patients' rooms were stocked so that when they got a patient, the staff had what they needed to take care of the patient. And I was able to round on patients and answer some call bells. The objectives that I created at the beginning of the project, the first one, by the end of the project, the learner will describe 3 ways hospice and community care serves the population. The outcome for this, I learned that they provide care in the hospital. They provide, they have an inpatient facility where they care for patients, and then there's also a home care option. The second objective, by the end of the project, the learner will participate in one conversation discussing patient-specific end-of-life goals of care with a hospice and community care patient or their family member. I actually ended up speaking to a staff member and helped to turn and reposition a patient that was not able to do it themselves. This was to prevent sores and make sure that if they were soiled or anything, they weren't sitting in anything, and we could keep them clean because they weren't able to themselves. And the third objective, by the end of the project, the learner will sit with 2 hospice patients and listen to their stories. I didn't exactly get to sit with the patients for a long period of time, but I did speak to a patient that was on respite from home care, where their family primarily cares for them. So hospice offers respite care for patients that are receiving home care. For example, this patient's family went on vacation, so the hospice patient was not able to join them on vacation, so they were able to stay for a week in the hospice inpatient facility and be cared for that way. And the second outcome for that one, I made dinner for a patient, and instead of learning about their life story, I was able to chat about the news and whatever they were watching on TV, which was just a cool experience. Some reflection personally, I saw the different types of patients in end-of-life care, which helped me gain a new perspective. I was kind of under the assumption that the patients I would see wouldn't be able to talk or eat or walk or anything like that, and some of them were. Some of them were still alert and oriented and just kind of independent in their rooms, and they just chose the palliative route of care instead of, I guess they were out of options otherwise. And I got to see the different ways to care for patients through hospice and community care, which kind of going back to the respite care that the patient was offered, seeing that not all patients that are admitted there in the inpatient facility are going to die there. Sometimes they go home or they figure out a different place. Professionally, I could see myself doing this as a future role in nursing. I found it just really rewarding, and the just the way that they care for the patients at the end of life was really cool to see. And it also helped me gain perspective for how I'll care for hospice patients in the inpatient setting, um, which I don't see very often, but I definitely do still see. These are the references that I used, and that's the end. Thank you so much for watching. Have a good day.